Please all rise and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes, I was hand-delivered by Miss Jody's on her. First, that's what she said. I said, "What are you serving?"
I want to thank you all for coming to the meeting tonight. We got a pretty good crowd out there. That's great. Starting as usual, we'll have a public comment, and it looks like two people have signed up for public comment here. The first person is Daniel Trump.
Hello, I'm Daniel Trunk. I reside at 116 Miller Road, Southampton. First I want to thank the board and the Planning Commission for the study that you did on our neighborhood. I appreciate that. I know it was a lot of work, and I'd hate to see the fruits of that study. Kind of worried about the fruits of that study going by the wayside, because I'm very concerned about this so-called affordable housing project that is being presented to the town. It's on town land, but it's adjacent to our neighborhood. And the way the plan looked from what they showed in the paper, that they wanted to bring access up through Hillcrest and Hillcrest Terrace, which personally I'm totally opposed to that, and I don't know if the village would be able to control that or in any way, or if the village would be able to use their influence in any way to defend us against possible bad effects and lower quality of life that could be brought on by this development that they're proposing. I know it's still in the early stages, but I just wanted to express my opposition, because we don't know who's going to benefit from this. I mean, it certainly doesn't seem like my neighborhood's going to benefit. I don't know if the village is going to benefit, and I don't know who's going to bear the possible hidden costs of this whole thing if it ever, hopefully, it doesn't get approved. But thank you for listening, and thank you for permitting me to express my concerns on the topic.
I thank you. Yep. Francis Genovese.
I'm also here on the 60-unit proposed affordable housing on County Road 39. I did a fact sheet, which I just distributed. I hope you can see. The point of my being here is to urge you to contact the town immediately to tell them that they must not let this go forward and that you have not been advised. It's my impression that you have not seen the report and you have not had a presentation about this. Is that correct? I know that the town is representing that it has just happened and it's just coming upon them, but they have, as is documented in this report, in this little fact sheet, they've known about it since, and been involved with it since September of last year. That's the earliest that I found, but it's probably before that. The status of this application is that it's in pre-submission now, which means that the town can hear it, their proposal at a work session, and decide that it should not go forward because it's inappropriate. And that's what we're urging now. Ostensibly, there was a first public hearing on it, a work session on the 7th of February, which no one knew about. The CAC to this date hasn't been informed, and it's my understanding that the village has not been informed. Is that correct? Okay. There is already a 1,000-plus page document that's been in the town hall since October, which I urge you to read. I've got some abstracts from it. This is a change of zone to go from R20 to multifamily, which has to have a community benefit. The community benefit being proposed is that it's affordable housing for the neighbors, for this neighborhood, for this location, affordable housing and workforce housing. It's not either of those things. Number one, it's not restricted to this area at all. The presenters are talking about a lottery, which is the same as saying that if you live in Atlantic City, you have a real good chance of winning if you go into a casino. It's not so. This is a statewide lottery, and if you will take a look at the list that I tried to compile it, and it's so exhaustive that I just began listing the things. There are over 3,000 applications for this all over Long Island. Not here. Not one of them for here, except for Mr. Schneiderman and Fred Thiel, and a few other legislators. So there is no community benefit to this locally. I want to be on record as saying it's an admirable cause. What this is a facility to house mentally disabled, physically disabled, what used to be called welfare people, homeless. It's documented if you look at this. There are over 4,000 people ready to apply for this, none of which lives in this area. There will also be, there are restrictions, I've listed them, you could get an apartment here for $550, a one-bedroom apartment in Southampton for $550 if you qualify under this. It does not matter where you come from. There are already, as documented in this, over 3,000 people waiting to get in here. Do I? Is it a 3-minute rule now? Have you moved that over from the town?
We're just on it's a public comment part, it's not a hearing tonight.
Okay. This will have a domino effect on, this is the IGHL proposal. Come back again, there will be zero taxation on this, and you can expect another application to follow it from the previous Morrow property. So what I'm urging you is before this week is out, that the village impose a letter to the town asking them for all information to review those 1,000-page documents and to stop it now before it gets any more approval. Is anybody on board with that?
No, Francis, I'd just say that we're very concerned about it, and all the trustees have been taking a close look at it, so it's on the radar.
Okay, but it's up for pre-submission, so on the radar is not action. And have you seen the 1,000-page report?
We haven't seen anything.
Okay, well, you'll need to see that before you make a decision.
Can I ask a question of our attorney? They were proposing a road that would be very troublesome to the village, and particularly the residents of that area. Do we have to allow somebody to build a road and hook up with our streets, or can we pull a Trump and put up a wall?
Obviously, I'll be very careful to answer this. I haven't seen the plan, but my understanding is they're proposing a connection. One of the connections is to a village road, a public street. So
I'm saying,
you don't have
we
no
have to allow
authority
somebody
to prevent a connection to a public street.
You can't prevent it?
You cannot prevent it. But you can understand the impacts or otherwise, and certainly understand the proposal that's in front of the town board and express your opinions. They certainly probably have to evaluate the traffic impacts that are result and the impacts on the village as a result of that as well.
When it's scheduled also for public hearing, we'd have to be officially notified at that point in time as well.
Yes, it's interesting, though, Ms. Genovese has told us that they have a work session. This is the first step in the town boards. They can decide on any zone change that they don't want to entertain that, and that's what's being considered now. So if they are going to entertain a formal application, it would have to be properly noticed, and the village wouldn't be included in that notice process. But certainly, I think, given the interest in this, the board can direct the the village clerk to reach out to the town and get whatever information so that we can have that, so you can review it and consider a comment or otherwise they can include in the record at this time.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes.
Well, the young lady that was up here said a lot of things that I actually want to say. Oh, I'm Linda Weeks, up on the hill, 72 Elmwood Way. So I didn't see anyone come through there looking at our neighborhoods to see how the road that they're trying to put through there would even work. We have a lot of children up there. So if they put that street in there, these people coming from the city in the summertime, instead of them trying to wait for that light by 7-Eleven, they're gonna cut through that road, come down that street where all the children are. And there's a park over there, so a lot of children out there on bikes, everything. You know, the thing with the sewage thing, some people over there have wells, so that's gonna seep into the ground. And we don't know what type of people are gonna be coming there. We have little children there, a lot of them. You know, it's very mind-boggling to me that they didn't even search that out. All they want to do is put this house up there. You know, they got tax exempt. Does that mean our taxes go up? What does it do to our neighborhood? You know, it seems like to me like if they were trying to squeeze us out by just building everything around us, you know? So she said a lot that what I wanted to say, but that's what I wanted to add to this. So
No, I
please,
appreciate it.
it's not benefiting any of us in Southampton. You know, the people that are here that needs housing, they're not even going to be able to probably get in there. You know, I just found out about these meetings, about this building that stuff over there.
So did all of us.
It's crazy.
At the last meeting.
Coming to Southampton, just build up anything here?
I think we're all dead set against it, dead set.
This is
Not,
crazy.
so I don't
Thank
know what
you.
we can do, but
One of the things that I will say, and Francis, you brought it up too, is there's a reason that zoning goes into effect, and there's a reason that certain areas are designated certain zoning, as that area is presently. And this wanton attitude of zoning changes and developing separate areas is just contrary to any thought of planning. And that is the biggest issue that you have going there, is it's a change of zone. And you know, and that's a problem.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah,
Can you
just
come
a-
to this podium and speak?
I mean, unfortunately about it is presented, it's town property, so we don't have a lot to say of how they utilize that property. What impacts us, and has been really brought up, is egress and ingress into our village street in the hill. That's where we would try to use our leverage, if at all. So, just so, I mean, understand, we have the same apprehensions, how that's, again, now, I would argue it's not a vacant piece of property now. I think there's people living in there are residents there. So, in any event, but clearly the use of it, just, you have to know, it's town property, so we have no say as a jurisdiction over how they utilize that. We can use, well, I mean, as a name, but, you know, because the same with Tuckahoe. But CACs, the fact that it hasn't been spoken about a lot is alarming. So this whole, right here, people coming up, and it starts with the public saying, we don't want it. So this is important. So you got to, come in here as a first step, and please speak up, and go into the town meetings and letting them know, as a town resident, that you're not for it. But clearly our concern is it neighboring up to village property and the use of our village streets. That's clearly a concern of ours, of which as Trustee Hattrick just said. But I just want to throw that in, because it's a public comment, not our comment.
Anybody else with it? Yep.
My name is Stephanie Stevens. I live on Pelletcher Street. Have had family and relatives living on Hillcrest for many years. My concern is, how is this going to affect our tax base? How is this going to affect our fire and ambulance crews? How is this going to affect just the general environment in our village? Regardless of the fact of it's not going to be available to anyone that lives in the village, this housing, it's going to destroy a way of life that we've had in the village for decades, centuries even. I mean, it's already been transformed where you don't even know your neighbors because half the time they're not even here. So as village residents, you know, you represent the village, and I understand that because it's town property, you don't have a say in how they utilize the property. But it infringes upon your services, your ambulance, your fire, your sanitation, because it's going to be a village road. It's going to have to be maintained by the village.
It's a very good point, thank you. Yes, Francis.
Further to the fact that it's not really workforce housing, is that there's a proposal for an auxiliary building that is undefined, but it's some sort of a support service. There's also going to be a guard. No one knows whether it's to keep people in or to keep people out. This is, you know, Kyle Collins has made the same argument for this as he made for the shopping center, that by diverting traffic through the village streets, you alleviate the traffic on County Road 39, and that's a public benefit, which was proven in that case that it's not. So there will be, as I said, no, this property will not be taxed. There's also questions about how it goes forward. They create an LLC. Nobody knows when it can be sold. Nobody knows anything about this. But this is not workforce housing, and the sewage plant that they're proposing for this is also on the border of the Hillcrest neighborhood. It's positioned there. So I think the important point is not whether the village can actually affect what the town does with their property, but you can ask them to hold off on approving it now while you review it.
Thank you, Francis. Any other comments?
Counselor, what date is the...
My name is Lorraine Wilson, and I live at 39 Hillcrest Terrace, which goes across Miller, and, well, you know. My concern is the entrance, exit at the Halsey, Hillcrest area. I understand, I'm not sure, this is going to be a gated community, and the people who live there, who are going to reside there, I can't see them going out on 39, County Road 39, to go anywhere, west or east. So that's going to bring them through our neighborhood as a bypass to the main street, groceries, east and west, because it's just too dangerous to go out on 39 from their entrance. The roads are very narrow up there, if you know. There's cars parked on both sides of the streets. In the summertime, there's kids all over the place, and people are walking all over the place. It's dangerous. I live there, and I think I go up and down about 6 times a day. And it's very dangerous. You have to, there's no lights, you know, down at the bottom. You can't get out onto,
Mercy.
You can't get out. I have to do my own traffic control to get out of the, off of there. So I just think it's a terrible idea. And this just needs to be some more talk about it. And I say no to the R20 change. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that all of us need to address it and get more information, because it's something that's been brought up relatively recently. You went to a meeting last week, was it?
Nancy did, yes.
Trustee McGann
Just to
wants to-
clarify, the only way we found out about it is somebody actually called us about the meeting the day after. Thank you, Mr. Trunk. And that's how we found out about it. And I think Nancy was called an hour before the meeting started. But we have all requested a complete, to Francis's point, download because we need to fully understand it. And it seems to be coming fast and furious, and we really, really understand all your concerns, but we need to understand what they're saying and what they want to do and when.
I think there was another comment? Okay. Yes.
My name is Joseph McLaughlin. I live on Hill Street. And I wasn't going to talk tonight, but anyway, the other day I went down to Town Hall and I went through the plans. And it indicates that the entrance would be on County Road 39, and that they had hopefully have permission from the village to come into the village on the east and the west side. The other thing I wanted to say is the history of the town giving special downzoning permission for different persons. For instance, the nursing home. That was a town thing to approve. And the other the other area would have been the condominiums on the other side of the Corrigan property. Now, of all these units that were built, how has it influenced the village? Are we supplying the fire protection for that area? Are we providing for the ambulance in these areas too? Yeah. So the town gives permission for downzoning, and it's the people of the village who have to pay the price. That's about all that I have to say. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Good point.
Any other comments?
On anything, by the way. Yeah.
For the record, my name is Joanne Conquest, and I live at 195 Miller Road. I'm opposed to this zoning change. I'm opposed to this proposal. I've lived in my house for well over 50 years. I saw the plans, and it looks like they're going to have an egress onto Hillcrest Terrace, which is very narrow at that point. That's where my house is. So I'm doubly concerned because it's a narrow road. I have trouble backing out of my driveway as it is. So I can just imagine with the traffic, the increase in traffic, it's going to be even worse. So I just wanted to go on record that I am opposed to this, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Shonda Campbell. I'm a resident of 162 Miller Road, and I'm actually I'm opposed to the condominiums or the apartments that they will be or trying to build next to the Hillcrest Miller Road in Woodward Way area. It will be, children will be in danger with traffic. Traffic flow will be excessive. Sewage plant and traffic will decrease the value of our homes. Health concerns with sewer plant and motor vehicle air pollution. Road conditions will deteriorate. Noise will have a huge impact. We're very upset about this. And right now, we can walk in a nice summer evening, walk around our properties in our neighborhood and don't have to worry about any cars really or anything like that. And so to have someone come in and build all these I don't know, apartments, I guess you would call them, and then bring extra people that will be trafficking through our neighborhoods. And we've been here for years. I was born and raised in Southampton, so to hear that this is happening, and I know that change has to come, but not in this format. We oppose, and me being the coordinator of the Hillcrest Neighborhood Watch, I stand for my neighbors, and we all oppose, and that's why we're here today, okay? Thank you.
No, thank you. There is no question about it that the area on the Hillcrest is got a density issue. You have the rehab center that's there, that's up on your boundary, and now if the intent is to put in additional housing, and it's not only additional housing from what I understand, it is they are actually increasing the density that is allowable on multifamily housing. So, personally, believe me, I feel that that area is over-dense and that it isn't properly designed. So we will, without a doubt, look into it and see what we can do. No question. Any other comments? Any comments from the trustees?
Let's take it to the streets on this one.
Mayor, if I may, I just suggest, as Mrs. Genovese has pointed out, the next work session of the town board is February 28th, but and I don't know if that's a public hearing or not, but notwithstanding, I think, well, regardless, whatever the date is, I would suggest, and maybe Francis could help guide everybody, but I would really suggest all your comments, put them in writing and put them to the town board. Certainly the village, the direction here is to get the information so we can determine as part of the village how it impacts the village and what response we can give to the town board. But really your comments should be directed towards the town board as well, so they know your voices are out there.
But we had directed Russell to reach out to the town and understand who's doing what, where, when at the last meeting.
Yeah, I will have that tomorrow. And the other thing that I was curious as to whether or not, since the village is so affected by this, whether or not Kyle Collins or whomever, whichever planner is working on this, just as they send Mr. Neely over for other projects, maybe they could come and present to this board and to the residents of the village because of the way it affects, and that might
be a nice courtesy, right, if nothing else.
Right.
Okay, with no further comments, we're moving ahead towards board presentations, and tonight we have the departments and accomplishments of 2018 and future goals. And we will start with the fire department because I think Tony's got another engagement.
First assistant board.
Thank you guys for coming.
Good evening. Alfred Callahan, First Assistant Chief, Southampton Fire Department. Here to recap, for the most part, 2018 for the department for everybody. You should have received basically the list of what we consider the major spending for the year. Mostly standard equipment, a couple of the highlights being the replacement of our van, the purchase and the current production for the replacement of 16, the ladder apparatus from Rosenbauer, the SCBA replacement for the air packs for the membership, and then some associated equipment purchases and house repairs. Call volume-wise, this actually gave me an opportunity that I haven't taken before to kind of run our numbers compared to some of our neighboring districts. We ended the year with a total of 1,117 alarms. Out of that, 762 were investigations by the chiefs and captains, and 355 were what we considered founded or general alarms for the membership. When you take that number, it's not our highest, but it is up there. I actually started looking at some of the neighboring departments. To our North Sea finished their year with 256. Hampton Bays Fire Department, about 480. To the east, Bridgehampton ended their year with, they were at 1,277, the biggest difference being that they run the EMS and we don't. So it was my first chance. I never looked into it before, but Bridgehampton non-EMS ran 577. And that actually puts us up kind of in the top of the county with the alarm numbers. If we were to add in the village ambulance, 740 alarms, and the town ambulances alarms in our district, they told me it was approximately 700, would put us at 2,557 if you really wanted to compare our department to other departments that run EMS in the county. So our numbers are pretty much up there with some of the busiest in Suffolk County, if not the island. With that, for 2018, we also accepted 9 new applications, which was a high for a long period of time here. Part of the trouble that we're having with new membership right now is a lot of the training requirements have pretty much matched those of career or paid fire departments. So new members coming in have to go to a full academy with a set almost course schedule, almost like a college schedule. So but we took in 9 applications, members who were going through that process successfully. Happy to say we had no loss of work injuries or severe injuries from training or alarms this past year. We had one minor injury, transport from a structure fire. So hope that keeps up. Projected for the future for us, really the number one goal is always recruitment and retention of the membership. Trying to keep the members that we have and trying to find new ways to bring in new members. So far we've been pretty successful, so we hope that keeps going. We're currently working on a revamp of our bylaws, policies, and procedures for alarms and for the administration of the department. So that's probably a long-term project over the next year or two. So that's one of our main goals. And other than that, we don't really have any major plans for 2019, spending-wise or purchase-wise. So I'm hoping that stays that way too.
Did you get that down?
Plan. It was the unexpected. I mean, so far this year, we're at 148 alarms, which is 16 ahead of last year, so it doesn't feel that way. It has been pretty quiet for the guys, but it's brought out a lot of the guys training and working together, so we're hoping the year kind of stays this way for the most part. But that's really all we...
Would you elaborate a little bit on the in-house training you do? I mean, Chief, you've explained how, of course, it is... To become a firefighter, volunteer, you're right. The requirements, even since I've been around and since you guys have been around, is increased every year, certainly over the last 5+ years. But you also do a lot of stuff in-house. You have, in Hampton Bays with the burn center there and the apparatus there on Flying Point. So, what stuff you do, like even without, in addition to what they have to do to get in, how, elaborate what you do even to stay here.
So the Academy offers, we do approximately 12 field trainings at the Academy a year, which is we either go in for classroom or field work at the Academy, which is on top of the required training. The membership each year, they're required at this point to maintain their CPR certifications. They have to do their annual bloodborne certifications, a lot of the administrative coursework that they have to go through, as well as the PSS, the bailout system that they carry. It's usually not recognized, but the guys wear a big harness around their waists that carries a 50-foot rope bag in their knee, and that's for them to get out of a second or third floor window. They have to maintain that certification every year. Each of the 5 companies runs a company monthly drill. We have a department monthly drill. And on top of that, usually if we're able to get a required structure from developers in the area who are tearing down structures, we get that in addition to the schedule. And then during the week, when guys are free in the afternoons, they'll usually go down, take the truck out. There's a lot of forcible entry work that we can do down at Flying Point because of the structure that's in there. The Hampton Bay Smokehouse is a great tool because it gives us a chance. We basically contact the town. We can go in and use that as a 2-story with a tower as a structure, we can smoke that out. Guys can work on their ladder work, their hose work going up and down stairs. A lot really goes into it, more so than people think when they first join. And that's one of the good things so far. A lot of people that we're taking in get into it and realize that it's actually a lot of fun if you push yourself. Every once in a while somebody comes in and realizes that it's not what it looks like. But the guys work hard. I mean, as I said, the requirements keep going up, and that's just, it's insurance companies. But really the NFPA, who's our kind of governing organization who watches over the regulations, they don't really discern the difference between a paid and a career firefighter, volunteer firefighter. To them, you're a firefighter going into a fire, this is what you're supposed to know. They don't really say, well, because you're a volunteer, don't worry about this, the fire's not going to hurt you there. So because of that, the training's matching it, but so far, very happy to say the guys are rising to the challenge. They're putting the work in. A lot of support from the village, from the fire academy, from the county, from the district. So we have the support the guys need, and they're taking advantage of it and following through with what they're supposed to do. So happy to say it still works here.
We have a good department, and thankfully, yes, we have a robust pipeline of of new people for both our volunteer, which we're fortunate, because that is a challenge around Long Island and on eastern, some of our neighboring municipalities and hamlets. So we've, thankfully, we're still getting people who are interested, despite all what you just said. So thank you for what you guys do.
Yeah, the biggest thing, Alfie, is I want to extend a sincere thank you from all the residents of the village of Southampton, and certainly from this board here, because you guys are, just like Tony's got something else this evening, you guys are up and out, and the calls come, you leave dinners, you leave kids, and you're running to help the community, and that's a huge thing.
I mean, I thank anybody. It's actually to be the significant others and families who let these guys, and myself especially, do what we do and what they do. So they're the ones that really sacrifice. We get to go and have some fun sometimes. So they put up with it a lot. So, behind the scenes heroes for it.
Well said.
I believe we have all right. Our chiefs. We have Chief Tony Stevens, new 32.
I think the chief should come up so that we can, your guys are new, and you need to be seen. Don't look behind you.
Well, he's all, Manny's a new addition. Manny's a new guy. This is our new 32, our second assistant chief, Manny Escobar, just newly elected by the department.
Thank you. Should give you a round of applause.
You want me to say something?
You gotta say
anything to add, or did Alfie cover it?
Shut up.
I always want you to say something.
No, we don't.
Listen, we wouldn't be as successful as we are without you guys' support. When we need something, and I'm the need guy, you guys are right there for us. So I'm trying to teach this guy to be the need guy, not the want guy. But, we need both. Gotta have a balance. But listen, we're here for our community, and that's what it's all about. We join to give back to our community, and we'll keep on giving so long as the old bones will let us get out of bed at night.
They will.
Got something to say, Manny?
Thank you for everything you guys do, and
Well, we want to thank you and for your responses. You guys are the best. Thanks.
Thank you. Off to another meeting.
Thank you, gentlemen. Trying to be good.
And next we have another group of volunteers that leave their meals and jump out of bed and go help people in the ambulance department.
Everyone, Chris Epley, I'm the chief of the ambulance. I'm joined by Ben Carey's first assistant chief, and our second assistant chief, Kyle McGinnis, is working tonight, so he wasn't able to come. In 2018, the SVVA responded to 740 emergency calls. Of those calls, 145 occurred while we're already responding to one or more calls. 92 were mutual aids to neighboring districts when they needed additional resources. And we maintained an average response time of 4 minutes and 32 seconds from the time a 911 call was received to the time the first unit arrived on scene.
Pretty impressive.
These are, the national standard is 9 minutes, so we're way under that. So 4 minutes and 32 seconds. Currently, the SVVA has 66 volunteer members. Of those members, 3 are paramedics, 2 are EMT CCs, 23 are EMT Bs, 15 are drivers, and 23 are helpers. Included in those numbers are 12 new members who are all currently in high school and 16 members who are full-time college students. Paramedic certification requires over 1,000 hours of class and field training. An EMT CC certification is over 400 hours, and an EMT B certification is over 130 hours. In addition, all of our certified personnel are required to renew their certifications every 3 years by a refresher or continuing education classes. In 2018, we had 4 members take new EMT classes, 4 people renew their EMT certifications, and currently we have 2 members in an EMT class right now, and numerous seeking renewal. We have 14 paid advanced life support providers made up mostly per diem paramedics. They staff a first response fly car 24/7 and respond to every call we receive in our district. The program has drastically reduced the SVVA response time and has increased the quality of care we offer. In 2018, we expanded this program to include 2 full-time employees. This full-time program has been extremely successful in reducing the number of open shifts. In addition, the full-time employees have taken on more responsibilities, such as heading up our controlled substance program, expanding our quality assurance program, ensuring state and federal compliance, and streamlining training for our members. In 2018, members of the SVVA put in over 29,000 volunteer man-hours. Of those, 3,527 hours were for emergency calls, and approximately 25,544 hours for non-call department-related events such as duty shifts, standbys, classes, trainings, meetings, and work details. During 2018, members of the SVVA continued our goal to offer monthly CPR classes to members of the general public and teach as many people CPR as possible. When a bystander starts CPR prior to EMS arrival, it increases the chance of survival tremendously. In addition, we've taught some form of CPR and first aid to approximately 750 students from Southampton High School, Southampton Intermediate School, and OLH. Last year, we implemented an electronic patient care reporting system. This is a cloud-based program that's easily accessible from computers, ensuring our compliance of federal and state regulations such as HIPAA and local EMS protocols. This program is now easier to document patient care reports, transmit information to receiving hospitals in New York State, and has increased the quality of our patient care documentation. Last year, we received a donation towards a Megacode Kelly patient simulator. This is a mannequin controlled by a computer and allows us to practice airway skills, cardiac skills, and drug administration. With the computer, we can change vital signs such as blood pressure, pulses, EKGs, etc. This mannequin has helped us with our goal of increasing the amount of training we do, especially in the off-season where we respond to less calls. We also recently placed in service on our ambulances and first responders a new multi-patient trauma bag. It's a small bag that has important equipment such as a few tourniquets, chest seals, hemorrhage bandages, and more. They're easy to deploy and to help multiple people in the event we should need to. Along with this, we had a training with the police department and fire department regarding incidents of this nature, and we're hoping to continue training with both departments in 2019. In 2019, we're excited to be implementing new 800 megahertz radios on the Suffolk County radio system. We got news that the radios were delivered and programmed, and we should be live on the system in the next few weeks. This is going to drastically improve our ability to communicate with dispatch and each other. In addition, our new home on Windmill Lane is under construction. We're excited to watch it go up, and we'll be focusing on completing that project and moving in. We're working with the Emergency Care and Safety Institute this year to offer better CPR training to our members and the members of the community. This year, we're also hoping to replace the first response fly car, and we're going to continue our constant efforts to recruit new volunteer members, as many hands reduces the amount of work, and we continue to lose members to burnout and careers outside of Long Island. In 2019, we're also going to continue to offer the best possible patient care. Thank you. Any questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Would you repeat that?
Chief? No, Chief, I want to, you bring up a lot of good data there, and one point that stood out to me, again, along with, the training that's increased, just like the volunteer fire department through the years, that's required upon your department members, is astronomical, and it keeps getting more and more. The hours involved, the man hours, I think that's an astounding number, but the one thing and part of those hours that I wanted to extrapolate were the standby hours, and what that means to the public, that if they're aware of it, or sometimes they just don't know it, but that means every event we have in the village, which is a lot, every marathon, every run, everything that goes on in that park, you guys are there. There was a stand, there was a unit, there was usually one of our rigs there, and a crew. That's volunteers that you guys and gals standing by.
Stand by at all the high school sporting.
The high school sporting events, everything. So even if you're not visible, and thankfully if there's no actual injury, usually in a sporting event there is something, whether minor or not, your department is there. So I think that's a huge number. And in addition to, again, what people expect when they hear and see them, the rig running down the road with the sirens and you guys all running around and doing your work in a hospital. The standby is a huge component and very large part of what this community is. So I think, obviously, on behalf of the board, what you guys do with that.
And if you could bring up your assistants there so we can...
That's our 31, first assistant.
First assistant, Chief Champagne. I hope we have another great year. We all appreciate your support and getting the equipment or training and supplying, to be able to supply you guys in the village the best care, whether it's equipment or, sending us to training, whatever it is, that just trickles down and allows us to offer the best to everyone we provide for. So thank you guys.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time and your effort and everything you put into it.
Thanks.
Yep.
Chiefs, thank you. Brenda, thank you.
Next, we have the police department. You were thinking you were going to get out of it, I know.
I get to do this all the time. I only have a 2-year sentence.
You didn't go with the Class A's tonight?
Just want to say, as did the fire chief, we in the police department very much appreciate the support of the village board. I think in the last 15 years, we've been able to come a long way because we've had consistent support, both financially and just encouraging us to do a better job whenever we could. And we've come a long way, especially in my 32 years, we've come a long way.
That's good to hear.
Go through some quick statistics. I know that's kind of the boring part, but it's a little bit. One of the things I like to have up first is our motor vehicle accidents, because that impacts a lot of regular people. There was an increase, a 32% increase, but last year seems to have been an anomaly. That wasn't related to anything we did to reduce the number of accidents, because I looked back to 2016, and we've consistently had about 400 accidents a year in the village. Now, roughly 30% of the roads are in the business district, 70% of the accidents happen there. So fortunately, they're kind of low speed. There are some injuries, because sometimes they involve pedestrians and bicyclists, but we're lucky that most of the accidents we have are, there are exceptions, obviously. We had the situation on Hill Street a couple of years ago, and but most of our accidents aren't too bad. As has been the past, we did over 15,000 calls for service, wrote almost 3,800 traffic tickets, stopped almost 3,000 cars, impounded almost 300 cars of those that we stopped, 37 DWI arrests, 231 other traffic arrests, 240 penal law arrests. Penal law arrest is like a criminal arrest, not a traffic-related arrest. And our total arrests for last year was 511. So for a small village, 511 arrests is not too bad. Now, this year, I'm kind of jumping ahead, but we have these license plate reader systems that you guys have allowed us to install, and at this point, as of tonight, we have 150 arrests for the year. It was the first week of May last year before we got to 150 arrests. So we're definitely, and our traffic tickets are at about the same. So
Can you elaborate for the public what that allows you to, like, what do you get from that, the readers? Because that's a significant amount of arrests you got from that, so you get that, and what is that?
Well, basically, we have a vehicle that, and we've had a vehicle with a license plate reader system on it for at least it's 10 years now, but we got a new system last year, a more up-to-date system. The old system wasn't working anymore. So basically what happens is there's cameras on the car, and the police officer, whether driving or stationary, cars will go by, the cameras will take a picture of the plate, it'll run it through the DMV database, and if there's some problem with the car, there's a warrant for the owner of the car, the license of the registered owner is suspended, the registration is suspended for some reason. A lot of times it's for lack of insurance, or it could be for other things. The MDT, the data terminal in the car, will flash a picture of the car so you can confirm that it's the car that just went by you. And if there's a problem, it'll give us an alert, it's called. And the police officer will then go make a traffic stop based on that alert. We also have them in 3 fixed locations now, so any of the officers driving around the village, if, say, like we have one at the end of Hill Street now, on the west end, you could be in the business district, and if a car goes through and there's an alert, every police officer that has an MDT that's operating will get the alert that there's a car on Hill Street that has a problem. And so fortunately, our officers have been on the right spot many times and pulled the cars over. And, a lot of times these things are, we're trying to be reasonable. If it's like your insurance lapsed 2 days ago, we're not arresting you and impounding your car. We're giving you the opportunity to resolve your situation, because it could happen to anybody. But if, you have, 37 license suspensions on 10 different occasions, you're getting arrested. And it's kind of eye-opening how many people are driving around with either a car that isn't up to snuff, or have warrants, or have no driver's license, or a suspended driver's license, or have warrants that we, earlier in the year, one of the officers made a gun arrest. We had the officer operating the license plate reader car had a car pulled over. The other officer came to back him up. While they were interacting with the first operator, the license plate reader car, which doesn't stop reading, flashed another alert, so the backup officer pulled that car over, and there was drugs in the car, and in the guy's backpack he had a handgun. So, it's not just traffic arrests, they lead to other things. In terms of, just to jump back into it, the police officers responded to over 500 medical aided cases, 100 disturbances, did 2,000 service calls, which is just you have some general need for the police, 1,500 alarms, 705 village code complaints, and they wrote almost 3,900 parking and village code tickets. So basically 8,000 tickets between the traffic tickets and the village code stuff. We've very much stepped up our school resource officer program. We had Officer McMahon in the school last year. She made detective. Now we have Officer Lubold, and I also have another officer, Officer McCulley, who's trained as a SRO, and when her regular patrol duties allow for it, she's also been in the schools. Now, obviously, Officer McMahon, now Detective McMahon, and Officer Lubold, that's their primary job. So they're in the school, 5 days a week. And we don't really make them document just walking around and interacting. We only make them document if they have to do some police-related activity. And Officer Lubold has had to document 260 incidents in the 2018 school year. So, and they didn't necessarily they might not all be bad. A kid could have gotten sick, or, something along those different lines.
Chief, I can't stress how important, personally, I think it is that you guys are in the school system. I think your presence in the school is and they've done a great job with the DARE program.
Right, yeah, we restarted DARE after probably 10 years of not having it. You and I got to attend their graduation at Our Lady of the Hamptons. It's going to be in the elementary school this year, so it's expanding. I think it's a good program. It's a good interaction between the police department and the kids and the parents of the kids. So it's a good example.
It's a great example, and it's great to have the officers there.
And it'd be great, I like at least to try and hire police officers that grew up here, and, it's good to have a good role model in the school, so a kid may aspire to become a police officer. In terms of the fire department, it's not really like our thing, but we dispatch for Southampton Fire Department, Southampton Ambulance, Bridgehampton Fire Department, which is fire and ambulance, and North Sea Fire Department. Our fire department was dispatched to 1,120 calls. The ambulance, 740, as you heard. Bridgehampton, 1,279 calls, and North Sea, 256. So our dispatchers were handling all those fire calls as well as the police calls. And although the county, we've changed the 911 system, so I can't get an accurate count on the incoming phone calls. It used to roughly be 20,000 incoming business phone calls, besides the emergency phone calls used to come through the police desk in any given year. So they're pretty busy in there. Also, all of our cameras that go with the license plate readers are on big video monitors in the radio room. So the dispatchers, when they're not talking on the phone or the radio, are watching what's going on in the village. And so they're pretty busy. There's 10 of them, 2 work per shift, and we have a civilian supervisor that supervises them. In terms of there's a lot of stuff that we did last year. Some of it was in the goals, some of it was just good luck and hard work that came to fruition. As with the ambulance, we are on the 800 radio system now through a big investment by the village board, over $400,000. And it has worked basically with very little flaws. It's really just worked out very well. I think the police officers are definitely happy. There was a lot of radio issues. You couldn't speak in some of the buildings. You couldn't really be heard on the beach. And obviously, we have a lot going on the beach in the summertime, so not being able to talk on the radio, not ideal for us. We were reaccredited by New York State. We've been accredited for 26 years now. We were the first village on Long Island Village Police Department to get accredited when we got it back in 1993. This was our latest go-through. I had done it in the past. This year, Lieutenant Hertel spearheaded it. She did a great job. And, Detective McMahon, some of the other police officers, Sergeant Rodecker, really were very helpful. So we'll be accredited 4.5 more years before we come up again. Obviously, we have moved forward with the village board's support on these license plate readers and cameras. They've done a really good job for us. One of the reasons that we kind of bought into this is because we had a bunch of incidents that we actually solved them but couldn't arrest people. Like we had a big piece of machinery stolen from a construction site on Meadow Lane, and we recovered it, but no idea who took it. Now we have a license plate reader and a camera in the location where we would have been able to make an arrest on that. Also, we had a DWI arrest that went to trial, and everything went as well as it could go from our side of things. The police officers testified correctly. The equipment, the instrument, did the breath test, functioned properly, and the jury basically did not convict because there was no videotape of the arrest. So that was kind of an eye-opener on, maybe needing to move forward with some new technology and not just, take the cops' word for it like it used to be for the last 100 years. Right now, in 2019, it's the 125th year of the police department in the village. So we're,
pretty excited.
You look pretty good.
Around a long
You
time.
look pretty good.
Fortunately, I haven't been here for all 125 years, although some days it feels like it. One of our goals was to increase village code compliance. I can't say that we did that because we had more complaints and about the same number of tickets, but we're working on it, In the summertime, I had 4 police officers and a sergeant just devoted to doing that quality of life kind of enforcement and beach patrol. like we call it crew, community response unit. That's a bigger unit than any patrol squad that is working the whole rest of the village at any given moment. So we're really focused on trying to improve the quality of life for the people that are here, and not just, being, and these guys get tasks. Well, there's some females also, but they have tasks. They have to go out and try and solve some of the problems, not just wait for a complaint. And, we're working on it. We could do better. We're going to try and do better. One of the goals was to restart our special response team, which, in other words, is a SWAT team. We had a organizational meeting in December, and we're going to do an in-house basic SWAT training class in March. And after that, we should kind of be up and running for some basic stuff. We have to keep working hard. It's one of the most training-intensive things you can do in the police department because it's the worst possible things you get called to. So you really have to be ready and understand what your limitations are. You can't think, hey, we're cool, we can do all this. You have to know what you can and can't do. And you only find that out through training. In terms of our staffing, we're doing well. We always do better, but we're doing well. That's always a budget issue, so that's not about support. You guys support us. It's just a question of what the village can afford, because we get paid, unlike the volunteers. For this year, our goals were to, hopefully increase our presence in the schools, see if I can get another officer trained up as an SRO, even if it's just a part-time situation where they're in on patrol. We acquired a drone in April, and we haven't used it much because we're kind of figuring out when and how it's appropriate to use it. We're still working on getting members of the department trained. You have to get an FAA license. We've had a policy in place on how it will be used and when it won't be used, but we've only used it 3 times. And that was just to do crowd control, not crowd control. We've had big events and we wanted to see the crowd. We wanted to kind of judge crowd size. We haven't really used it on any criminal stuff yet. We want to acquire another drone that has infrared capability, so if we have a lost elderly person, a lost child, it's in the dark, we'll be able to hopefully put the drone up and be able to see that. I want to keep going with our public camera policy. You guys have supported us on. We have a couple of locations identified. One of those places is the train station, and the mayor and I, and Mayor Epley before him, we meet with the neighborhood associations over in and around the train station, because in the summertime, on the weekends, that's a really problematic area for us. The vast majority of the arrests the police department makes between Memorial Day and Labor Day occur in the train station or the neighborhood around it. I have had to put 2 police officers every Friday and Saturday night for the last 3 summers there, from basically 10 o'clock at night till 4 o'clock in the morning, just to keep, and we get the report card on Sunday morning from the neighborhood, and we rarely get straight A's. And so that's a big issue for us. So the next project we're looking at is a camera and license plate reader array in that location, which will help us. Also, as the mayor can probably tell you, that has become a cut-through, and it's almost like another version of County Road 39. And so,
Except faster.
Probably faster, yeah. They got an S-turn there just before it goes up your street.
I know.
We just told everybody.
And so we'll be working on that. The plan is pretty much designed as technology we kind of started looking at this 3 years ago. And every year, when we revisit it, the technology has evolved and it's gotten slightly less expensive. So I think we're just about ready where we think it's the right mix of good technology and expenses that are reasonable. It's not going to be inexpensive, but it's reasonable. Right now, inside headquarters, our building is 17 years old, and we need to move some things around. We have an archive room that is packed to the gills, and we have a property room that we're really not using for property anymore because As part of accreditation, we basically have taken all the found property that people turn in or the police officers come across and put it in our evidence room because it's just more appropriate to do it that way. So now we have the property room that used to hold all that found property, and we can use that for storage. So we think we're going to take the archives and move them into the property room, which is bigger. Plus, we have a very small, I guess, for lack of a better word, a computer room that's pretty much the size of like a walk-in closet. And, 17 years, the technology that existed isn't close to what's happening now. So we're probably going to move that stuff. It's fortunately right next door to archives. We'll probably move most of that into the archive room because then, the guys don't have to go like this. Plus, it generates a lot of heat. And a bigger room will be definitely more. And that's not really going to be much of a cost. That's just something we have to take care of inside the department. I mean, we'll do most of the work ourselves. Happy to report that our K-9 graduated from K-9 school, flying colors, and tonight is his first night on patrol in the village.
Nice.
He had no problem getting certified. He was one of the, according to Officer Moore, the dog topper was one of the best in the class. Really picked up all the training very quickly and very well, and you'll see him out there now. He's generally working 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. Tuesday through Saturday. He's got a training day on Wednesday with the county police, but you'll see him.
What's his expertise? What's his training?
Right now, it's just tracking and general protection of the police. But in the fall, he'll become a drug dog, a drug detection dog.
That's great.
Let's see. Yeah. Pretty much, we've accomplished so much. It's hard to put it all into a summary. And great bunch, and not very many problems, and nobody injured right now. So we've generally carried an injured police officer for most of my time as a police officer. Somebody's got roughed up or got in a car accident or whatever. But right now we're doing all right. So we're doing well. And again, I appreciate the support of the village board, the community. We get a lot of positive feedback from the community, and I think we're on the right track, and we just got to keep going.
Chief, we certainly, I got to thank you because, one, those plate readers have significantly increased. You would never believe the amount of vehicles that go through the village that are unregistered or unentitled or uninsured, and that has been a big help in identifying those, plus the addition of some safety issues that you have after you stop them. So that's all great stuff, and I've got to tell you, you have a great group working for you as far as I'm concerned. They seem energetic. I want to see them more. I'd like to see them out and about more.
One of the goals is to have bike patrol again.
There we go. I love it.
Dr. Mikolos donated 2 bikes to us, so.
Yeah.
So I have some guys, 2 guys went to bicycle patrol school last year, and I have some guys that are already trained. It kind of, at times change, and it was big in the 90s, and then it kind of fell out of favor, and obviously it's something we're going to do again.
Yep, and then you know that I'm a real supporter of the bike patrols. I think they're great. I think the officers have a good time, too.
Yeah, I mean,
it's,
in my youth, I was one of the bike patrol officers, and I don't think I ever didn't ride the bike in the daytime where I didn't get stopped and have my picture taken at least once.
There you go, celebrity.
I'm not necessarily happy about that.
And then the DARE program, I think, is so important. Today with the instances that we have in the school system, to have an officer in and out of the school is just, to me, is very imperative. And back to your group that you have there, Southampton Fest, which was great. The kids were playing soccer, and then I look out there and there's an officer out there full uniform, a jacket on and vest, and he's kicking the ball and
Getting crushed by the kids.
getting crushed by the kids. There was another officer showing them the patrol car, and the kids were all, really excited. And those things to me are really, really good, positive stuff.
Yeah, I think I have a lot of guys with very good attitudes.
Yeah,
and
you do.
They do conduct themselves professionally, but they're human.
Well, everybody makes mistakes, there's no question about it. And then the beach patrol, the picnic area, which for years and years and years has always been one phone call after another.
Right.
The last few years, knock on wood, you guys have done a great job, and we haven't had those phone calls, so.
Yeah, and obviously that's a tough situation because, I sat at the hearings that you all were at, and, there's strong feelings on both sides of that issue. And
absolutely.
We kind of are like the referee in the middle.
Yeah.
And that's not an easy place to be.
Maybe we should change the uniforms.
Stripes for the summer?
And also, Chief, I'd like to, you alluded to, and as the mayor said, it's a great group of officers you have. And one thing I like to, and you pointed out, you try to hire local, and thankfully, we've been very fortunate as a department in the village that we have a good seasonal program, and we've really been able to hire and then bring up and promote organically. And a lot of our current officers started as TCOs and then or seasonal police officers and become full-time. So I think that's that's what's great for as a community-driven department, because they're recognizable. There's somebody they went to school with, or they went to school with their parent or their aunt or uncles. So I think that is extremely important, and why the department is one of the
and just to
most envied on the East End.
speak briefly about the seasonal program. For those of you who don't know, you all know what it is, but the public might not know. You go to the Suffolk County Police Academy, and you basically are going 4 nights a week and all day Saturday for free. And you go through all slightly less hours, but all the same training that a regular police officer would get who was hired full-time. And then you come back and work for your police department with no guarantee of anything but a part-time summer job. And normally we only sponsor 1 or 2 because seasonals are great, but they create some issues for us with accreditation because we have to give them the same training a full-time police officer would get, and it's kind of difficult to devote the resources to someone who is here for 3 months a year and may go, a lot of them go on to work in, they get full-time police jobs, but they might not necessarily get them with the village police department. So, but this year we have 6 people in the seasonal academy. They're all going to graduate, unless something I'm not aware of is going to happen. They're about halfway through. They're going to graduate May 18th, and we'll have 6 seasonals this year. So we'll have a good-sized crew unit. We'll have probably 5 or 6 police officers and a sergeant assigned to do the community-oriented problems in the summertime, because the seasonals will be in the regular patrol squads. I think it's, they deserve some credit for putting in the time, and they don't get paid.
They do.
And so you'll see a lot of fresh faces this summer.
I hope behaving.
Hopefully, yes. All right, any questions? Okay, thank you.
Chief, thank you.
Chief, thank you.
Mayor, I don't know whether you might want to go out of order and let Tom.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Thank you. Right, sounds good. I think we made Tom wait long
We got
enough.
Mr. Neely here to discuss the commuter rail.
I got a little education on the
this is
area.
interesting stuff. I like to see. I usually watch it on TV at home, but get to be here tonight. So. I do appreciate the chance to come and give you an update on the train and bus service. We call the South Fork Commuter Connection, which is starting next Monday, March 4th. As you are probably aware, there's been great interest in doing this kind of a service for many, many years. We did try it in 2007 and 2008 while County Road 39 was being constructed. So this time around we had a little bit of a model template of what we learned at that time to work with. The basic concept is that we're going to have 2 trains coming east in the morning to be met by shuttle buses at the train stations. People will park in Spionk, West Hampton, Hampton Bays, take the train east, get off in Southampton, Bridgehampton, East Hampton, Amagansett, or Montauk. The stations east of the canal will have buses there to meet them. Just point out the first page in your packet there is taken off of our town website. A lot of the information I'll touch on, but we're encouraging people to go to the website. The town website has all the information. Long Island Railroad also has the exact same information posted on their website, and the town of East Hampton has also posted it on their website. So the system will be, you board, as I said, to one of in the stations west of the canal, take a train east. We will have here in the village, we're planning to have 2 32-passenger vehicles. There's a picture of it, one of the vehicles somewhere there in your packet also, if you want to see what one of them looks like. As is the shuttle schedule for the village. And also I did a little bit of an aerial map with keyed to the shuttle schedule as to where we'll be dropping people off. And then we drop them off in the morning. There's a 6:45 a.m. trip that arrives at the village at 6:45. We don't have to go through all of the stops there, but basically the early morning trip is directed to take people to Town Hall, the hospital, the middle school, and the high school. The schools have expressed great interest in this. The hospital we've been working with also is very interested in it. That the schools, the hospital, or Town Hall are kind of more that 7 a.m. type start of the day, so the shuttles will go down there. We're also going to send one up North Sea Road up to the assisted care place, that area, and right by the North Sea Road 39 intersection. One of the things in reaching out to various businesses, they have 300 employees at the assisted care facility, and they have a shift that starts at 7 a.m. So very similar to the hospital, we think we're going to be able to get them there just about right on time for their shifts, and they all go home at 3 p.m., and we have a 3:30 train back. So we'll bring them out early in the morning, get them there on time. At the end of the day, that 3 o'clock shift, we'll pick them up, bring them all back, and get them back for the 3:31 departure to go back, where they will jump back in their cars and go home. The fare is $4.25 each way. The tickets will be available through the ticket vending machines west of the canal. They'll also be available from the conductor, but we encourage people to buy them at the ticket vending machines. When the passengers buy their tickets, it'll be actually a 2-part ticket. One part they'll give to the conductor on the train to pay their fare. The other part they will give to the shuttle bus driver to, in essence, pay for their trip. The railroad, we've worked out a program with them of the $4.25, the charge. $3.25 is for the railroad's fare. They will be rebating us $1 a ticket, which is what those ticket stubs will be used. We'll then work it out with the railroad to get reimbursed $1 per stub. One of the things we tried to do here was avoid having passengers get off the train and have to pay again. So we thought we worked out this system with the railroad, and we're going to do that at least for a year as a promotional program, so we think it makes it much smoother. It's easier to pay once than pay twice. So we think there's some benefits there. And then we'll encourage them to buy their ticket for their trip home in the afternoon so that they can hand the bus driver their stub when they get on the bus to go back to the train. As I said, there's an early morning train, and then there's one gets in around 8:36 here in Southampton. We're going to route that a little bit more towards Main Street. We're also going to go up, we're going to kind of do a reverse commute on 39. We're going to go west along 39 and come down North Sea Road. We don't want to get caught up in all the traffic, so that we'll be able to hit some of the businesses along County Road 39. We've had some requests, the medical buildings that are up there at the corner, And then, Benton Plaza up on 39, we're going to try to hit some of those so that we can drop some of those more 9-to-5 type employees at their locations. We're also going to run over to the college with one of the trips. So this is what you see on the schedule and what's posted and on the little map there. It's all demand dependent. We've identified these based on feedback we got from, we sent out a survey through the Chamber of Commerce, we sent out a survey through the Business Alliance. We know pretty much where the employment concentrations are, in and around the village. So we've set up this schedule. We'll see how the demand goes. If people aren't going to the college or they aren't going to a certain location, we may alter that schedule. Conversely, if we get a call from a business, we're actually we put in here a stop, it's up at Old Town and Hampton Road. That was based on some calls we got from some people that said, could you stop and pick us up? I think it's the Peconic Land Trust and then Marin Corporate Risk, MCRA, are both right there. They have pretty decent sized operations. They called, we are going right by, so I thought, okay, let's list it as a stop. So that's, pretty much how it's going to work. We think it's not going to solve the traffic problems, but it gives people an opportunity, if it works with their schedule, works with their employer's schedules, to avoid the traffic problems and use the train and the bus instead. So we think it's a step in the right direction. We have to, there are no plans, as you know, to widen any more roads or build any more roads or do anything else. So really, this public transportation and the use of the rail and the bus, is really where we're the direction we're all going in. The plan is that this will, be forever. The one we did 10 or 12 years ago was never intended to be permanent. It was a 10-month program while 39 was being rebuilt. This one, we're all really going into with a thing of we're going to make this work, forever. The Long Island Railroad's been extremely cooperative. Assemblyman Thiel has been very actively involved. He and Senator LaValle have also helped arrange for some funding for the buses. Supervisor Snyderman and the town board have also arranged for some funding to help with the buses, because they do cost money. The dollar a passenger doesn't come anywhere close to paying, what the costs are. So we've gotten a lot of support, from officials, and I should also say out in East Hampton, they're very supportive. Their elected officials are all, helping out. So we will sit down with the Long Island Railroad a year from now. We're going to assess the ridership. It's hard to define what success is. But we're going to look at what the ridership is, not only on these trips that we're promoting, but one of the other elements in this is there are now 6 new trips on the Long Island Railroad schedule, 2 each direction that we're promoting because we have our buses connecting with them. But they actually have another trip back because they have to start the other trip in the other direction. And so they've added 6 trips. When you look at their full schedule, it's pretty robust. So we've asked, and they've agreed, that not only will they look at the railroad or the South Fork Commuter Connection ridership, but look at all the ridership. We think we're going to see an increase in overall ridership out here because, now you can be in the village. You want to go have lunch with a friend out in Montauk, now you can actually take the train out, have lunch, and come back in the same day. You weren't always able to do that. And we think there's going to be, nice demand, for people that want to get back and forth, and especially in season, don't want to be stuck in all that traffic, going either east or west, when things are so busy. So that's pretty much what we've worked on. There are benefits for employers, flex hours. There's some flexible spending accounts for people similar to medical spending accounts. I don't know if you offer that to your employees, but they actually have it for transit. You can buy tickets for public transportation. You can have money taken out of your payroll pre-tax to pay for public transportation. Very few companies out here know about it because we've never really used public transportation out here. So there are some other benefits. We're promoting to employers guaranteed ride home program. One of the reasons people don't take public transportation, what if somebody gets sick, or what if their plans change and they have to get home? There is a guaranteed ride program offered through the 511 rideshare people. So we're tomorrow, Thursday. We've had a couple meetings with the hospital. As I said, they've been very supportive of this. We're actually meeting with the 511 rideshare people. We're really, helping them work out how they can take, the best advantage of this and offer it to their employees. So that's, pretty much, what we have. It doesn't work for everybody, but we're hoping it works for enough people that, it really helps with certain employees. Getting out here helps with that, the challenge. And again, meeting with every business, that I've talked to, everybody has difficulty hiring employees. Where they work here, I talked to somebody new to the area who started, in January, and he said, what's going to be like in June? Those are the employees that a year from now say, I can't do this, I've got to move. So it's going to reduce the cost of, employers, we hope, or make it a little easier for employers to, hire employees. So that's pretty much everything I've got. I don't know if there's any particular questions.
No, I think that you guys have done a remarkable job and come such a long ways in putting this together. I mean, it's, and there's going to be, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of pitfalls along the way, and you're going to have to change the schedule, but
right.
Boy, what a great start.
Well, thank you. Dan, thank you for coming to the press conference. I know we had a big press conference in Hampton Bays a couple of weeks ago. Appreciated your...
It was warm that day,
What was it, about 15 degrees? I
think that's high.
Something like that. But no, I appreciate that. And yes, I think we're going to, we'll learn as we go. But I think we're all pretty much committed to, sitting down a year from now and saying this is working and, what else can we do? Yeah. Long term, we're talking about opening a campus, opening a station at the college when the hospital moves over there, building a couple more sidings, because one of the drawbacks on being able to run more frequently is that there just aren't enough sidings between Spionk and Montauk. So we're in early discussion with the railroad about, possibly having a couple more sidings built. Again, that's a few years down the road, but
it's a start.
It's a start. That's right.
It's a start that has been well wanted for years and not paid a lot of attention to.
I mean, certainly right off the bat, you're covering the largest employers out here, which are your schools and your hospitals and your the nursing home facility, which right there alone is a start.
As I'm sure you know, Southampton and Southampton Village are the largest employment centers.
Yes, in our towns, yes, in our municipalities.
We expect probably 40 to 50% of the people are going to be getting off, here. It'll dwindle a little bit as you go farther east. But yes, we expect that we're going to be dealing with, having a lot of people using it here in the village. So
I will add this to our website, and we can link it over to the town's website as well.
That's great.
The information I'll put on our homepage.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay.
Can you get the schedule on there too?
Yeah, and I'll link it right to everything. I can send these up as PDFs for people to download.
You remember Deborah Keller. She's our website guru, so she's glad to help. So I'm glad to help. So she did all the heavy lifting on the website. I'll give her a little shout out.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Wes, for sliding him in there.
So we'll continue with the department reports of the trustees. Trustee Skrimsky?
Did him. The fire.
Lucky one.
That's why I put him on the spot. As he's born the
First two out of the gate. Let's see how the rest of you guys do.
Trustee Allen.
So Chris Talbot, our new building inspector, helped pull together this summary. And so just a recap of what the building department does, some of its 2018 statistics and goals. But I just want to point out, I had a root canal about 4 hours ago. So we'll see how this goes. So many people in the village have gone to the building department and go there frequently, but a lot of people have never been to the building department. So we thought it would be worthwhile to tell you what the building department does. So it issues the official approval that allows a village resident, a homeowner, or a building owner to proceed with new construction or a remodeling project. They ensure that the project plans comply with land use, zoning, and construction standards. And they also receive and review applications, approved plans, and specifications in order to issue a building permit. And they can conduct inspections, and you'll hear later, a lot of inspections, to issue a final certificate of occupancy. So in 2018, there were 234 building permits issued, which was practically the exact same number in 2018. But this is 38% less than our all-time high of 393 building permits in 2014. So they also issued another 312 certificates of occupancy. So they have really great reports up there. If you want to know any statistics, Diane Greger will help you, but they have everything tracked with fine detail. That said, their total open construction projects, they estimate, are about 600 now, which is quite a lot for a village of our size. And this keeps our building department very busy because they have an average of 6 inspections per project. So the building department revenues were $2.4 million in 2018, which was 25% over the previous year. So everyone was asking, gosh, we had the exact same number of building permits issued. Why did we get $400,000 more in revenue? So what we discovered is that people are building mostly larger residential homes, and that the project construction on those larger homes is extending past the two-year building permit window, which requires an additional permit fee. So the story is there's more large construction projects and they're taking longer. The building department also supports our 3 village boards, which are the Planning Board, the Zoning Board of Appeals, and the Architectural Review and Historic Preservation Board. They hold an average of 2 meetings per month, and the building department prepares the agenda as well as all the files, some of which are 24. There's some projects right now that have 24 individual files representing that project for these meetings. So in this past year, they supported the preparation over 70 agendas and 700 files. So the building department has done a really incredible job managing the application and permit process. We get many, many compliments from residents in the village as to how helpful they are. At this time, they're operating with a staff of 5. Our longtime building inspector, John Foster, retired after 30 years, and his institutional knowledge will be missed, but we're very fortunate to have Chris Talbot assume his role in early in this year, I guess, officially. So some of the goals that the building department is looking to do, along with the assistance of our counselor, Wayne Brune, is to streamline the application document to make sure that it's clearer to the applicant, and eventually reduce the cycle time between the application submission and the permit issuance. Typically, delays are because the applicant hasn't provided some piece of information, and we'd like to make sure that doesn't happen, so everybody gets through as fast as they can. The building department is also analyzing its staffing requirements as new state and federal code requirements are introduced, and to ensure that the quality of service is maintained. And last of all, they'd like to figure out how we can have technology help us. You have drones, you have license plate readers, but the building department still has massive amounts of paper, and they'd like to really get out of that paper-intensive world. Derek Highsmith did a great job imaging, but we have to figure out how to get that operationalized more so it's a benefit to everybody. And the last thing they do is they continue to work closely with the boards and understand emerging trends, and then collectively raise these trends so that we can clarify codes and address issues that are coming up through the various boards and meetings with the building department. So I think they've done a very good job, and I wanted to thank Chris, and I know we all will, for his leadership in his new role and the hardworking staff. So.
I want to add one thing. Chris and I met a couple hours ago, and he gave me a little bit of the highlights of what you were going to say. And
Was he smiling?
he was smiling. But we had one thought, and I just wanted to bring it up. We're thinking about, as applicants bring forth what their mandatory obligations are, the 7 copies and so forth, that they might be given a slight discount if they also bring a digitized copy of their application and their plans. And so that would take away that one task that we have of the first thing we do is make copies and try to digitize it. So if the applicant themselves bring it in pre-digitized, that might save us some time and effort as well.
That's a great idea.
Those folders are pretty antiquated. And there's not enough room on the outside to write on them.
No, not at all.
Thank you. That was a great report. And you also have the Justice Court.
Yes.
Which is such an important asset to a small community.
Very much so. So this is directly from Justice Wilson, and she had wanted us to know that her goals remain steadfast to ensure justice for all and to treat all within the system with respect, courtesy, and dignity. We continue to work with the treatment courts, specifically the Drug and Veterans Court, and to comply with the new Raise the Age legislation as it now enters its 2nd year, and with the new changes mandated by legislation. And I think we all thank Judge Wilson for her leadership and her hardworking staff and their professional and longstanding service at the court. So.
Absolutely, because as a resident, you get caught on the reader and you get a ticket, you would have to go all the way to the town. And this way you can be a lot closer and make your contribution.
So that's where you put it.
Trustee Hatcher.
Nothing all that exciting. One very happy thing this year, the Highway Department has not knocked down one mailbox where there's snow plows.
Yay.
Primarily because we haven't had any snow, I think. Very happy to report on that.
Now you just jinxed it.
We're getting 3 inches. So yeah.
I did commend them last year. I think of that pile of snow that was on Main Street there one morning, and I told them it looked like Mount Kilimanjaro, and I was astonished by noon.
He's gone.
He's gone, right.
How they got it out of there, and
A lot of hair dryers.
and other than that, and Kenny Zay certainly likes the recent hire that we got for his department and solving a attendance problem that his predecessor had, and so they're all in good pedal.
I think both departments are doing really well.
Yeah, and that's it.
Well, I'll just say, because Nancy's not here, the Parks Department, you had some reading on it?
I have Parks, yeah.
But I'll let you read it, but really all those departments have done such a great job all together, because so many times we've had projects and we've been short help, and it really wasn't a rule of thumb in years past, but they've offered their personnel to help out, and that's really been key in the village in the last few years. And certainly the Parks Department does a great job. The monument at Lake Agawam is a pretty spectacular scene, looking down the monument and down the lake and stuff. So they do quite a job. But I'll let you go.
Well, I'll be brief, because John Cause, as you know, is very brief. He said everything's going well, and if you need something, call him. And he's happy.
I think that was the longest comments he's ever made.
Yes, I had to pull that out of him. And on the other hand, Steve Phillips wrote us a 4-page novel, which I'll just highlight. He's very busy. In the wintertime, if they're not plowing snow or icing, taking care of ice and so forth, They do the upkeep, the winter maintenance on all of their equipment, rebuild flower boxes and get out. And they've been able to do a lot of trimming and, prep work early because the weather's been great. He's, all set, waiting for probably the next week or so. He's going to get out and get all the ball fields and all of our athletic fields in good stead. He talks about, all of the village properties that we have, and I think everyone's familiar with them, and the grounds around them, and the various ceremonies, the Memorial Day parades and the ceremonies and the 4th of July, and all the various parks that he handles, and also participation in all of the Ellen's Run and various activities that go on. So he's looking forward to another great year this year. He does thank the board for the support. I think all of the departments thank the board for their support. I just want to quickly cover a couple of things from the clerk, treasurer's, and administrative office. I want to commend, again, Steve Funch, the outgoing administrator. We're going to have some news coming up in communications that is a credit both to the board and Steve. But some of the goals looking forward, looking for some more efficiencies, some more computerization. I'd like to, we're going to work on some better internal controls and some record retention type issues that both Julie and I have been working on. A lot of times we get a phone call, a FOIL request or something, and we're searching and hunting, and we find it, but we're looking for maybe some more efficiencies in there. As I've spoken to the board about, we're going to be working on cross-training, not just inside here. I've spoken to Gary about cross-training in the departments that he manages as well. We're going to work on some training. We're establishing a labor management committee this year, which not that kind of cross. We're establishing a labor management committee this year. I hope to do both with the PBA. The CSEA has already said that they're looking forward to that. It gives an opportunity for people who work out in the field to hear from Village Hall as to what is going on here. Not through the rumor mill. They can ask straight up, hey, what is happening? And we get some feedback for some of the things that we think we may be doing right, that hey, they're out in the field and they know it. And so we're going to be reviewing processes as well. Cooper's, later today, we opened the bids the other day, so we're going to be getting that geared up, and we've already got people coming in for employment for summer help, so that's the goal.
Can I just add one thing, comment to the DPW, to just add on what Trustee Hattrick said. Well, yes, fortunately, there were no mailboxes lost thus far because from snowplows because the lack of snow. But one thing, it doesn't mean there's been a lack of moisture. I mean, it hasn't been cold enough to produce snow, but we've had a lot of rain storms, a lot of wind. So the Highway Department, Parks Department, but the Highway Department is very busy with their tree work and a lot of flooding, so they've been very busy. You can see them, the vac trucks have been very busy, unclogging drains because everything that falls down ends up. So while they haven't been plowing, they've been extremely busy removing debris out of all our drainage. And especially since we've had a lot more through the years, there's been more of that work. So I think, there's always something going on, even if it's not snow in the winter.
And it happens quickly.
Yes.
No, it does.
Could I ask Trustee Allen one question? There's the article in last week's newspaper about the Abu Dhabi Hilton possibly being torn down, that massive, and they said that I know one of the things that they said was that the building permit for that house was $240-some thousand, I thought, and maybe, do we get another permit to tear it down and then another permit to rebuild it, or?
Of course.
And is that just a rumor? I mean, I'm just more curious than anything. Are they really thinking of tearing that house down?
I hope so.
So as our building inspector said, they are.
They
Yes.
are, huh? Wow.
So they need a demolition.
Are considering or?
And the answer to your question is yes and yes. They would need a demo permit and they would need a It's been over 2 years, right? How many years has it been?
It's been over 2 years, I
Yeah.
believe.
I mean, it's been
and-
sitting dormant for 6 months at
Yeah,
least.
I believe their building permit is
That one
soon to
expert, I went
expire.
down there the other day to look after I saw that story, and of course, Chump Towers is just on the east side of that one. It's the damnedest looking thing I've ever seen. I don't know what's going to be behind all the sheathing that they had out there. You can't, it just looks like a giant reflector for Mars or something like that, you know,
But that's what why Chris said we have an increase in our permit revenue, is that people are changing their minds midstream.
Well, those are big projects.
On these big
Both-
projects,
both
believe
of
it or
those,
not.
yeah.
Yeah.
Purchase for 35, 20 million
to
spent.
tear down a
in
$19
construction.
million house.
I
No,
think you're
$35
low.
million house, 19 in
I
construction.
think you're very low. on that.
35 million to purchase, 19 in construction.
That's
That's
what I thought I
yeah.
was saying, is that the house itself, and the lot, by the way, I don't want this to sound, anyhow, you know, back in '87, we bought Dune Beach, which is 8.4 acres on the ocean, does back right on the bay, too, so it, although it's not as wide as this parcel is, so it has more oceanfront, but we paid 1.3 million, and this guy paid 30-some, how many million for the property?
35, I think the article said, or something.
Holy
What's a
good
dollar or two?
God.
What's a mill or
We
two?
get the Shinnecock West,
Wow.
Shinnecock East.
Times change, Bill.
I hope we tax them on the basis of the value of the house.
Well, those are two very large projects, and I'm sure to build a piece of property like that takes more than 2 years. You know, it's quite an endeavor, to say the least. All the departments I had already spoken, but, you know, I thought you might elaborate on it a bit, but we had the S&P review recently, and the village rating went up.
Yes.
And I think we're one of the highest villages rated on the East End.
We are the highest.
We are the highest.
Can be no higher. It was part of communications, but we can take it a little out of order. S&P, and this is a credit again to this board and the work that Steve Funch did over the past years, upgraded us to AAA rating. We are going to market tomorrow, which I think the timing is good. The rates have been holding steady and actually going down a little bit. So I think even the projected savings that we spoke about when this board said that we were going to refund the firehouse bond, I think our savings may even be greater than that. So I think the timing is good. And some of the things they talked about was, you know, how strong our budgetary performance is, our budget flexibility, very strong liquidity, and a strong debt to and contingent liability position. So we are in good stead. They think that we look good to going forward in the future as well. We're in good shape, even if there's a little hiccup in the economy. They feel very strong about Southampton Village. So kudos again to this board. I know that most municipalities would put banners up across their halls, and I'm throwing a little joke, maybe across the village here, and, you know, put out press releases. I just think our actions speak well and compliments to this board and to Pat Letterman, Steve Funch, and all the folks here.
And don't short your self.
I appreciate it. They did run me through the grill a little. After we had that meeting, they got me solo for about an hour and a half.
I'm sure they did. But
You got off easy with an hour and a half.
Yeah.
AAA's, it's big.
No, it's a.
And as you said, the only village on
The East End.
On the East End, yes. No, Sagaponic as well, but they really don't have much infrastructure.
Right, you know, it's large infrastructure. No, it's big.
And a lot of that is a reflection of not only this board here, but it's a reflection of all our departments, because they make a conservative effort to, you know, I mean, at times I do get a little frustrated with them and go, you're buying what?
Yeah.
But, you know, I think overall, they really try to do a good job. So that concludes our department heads. I don't think we missed any department, did we?
No.
Good. So we move ahead to public hearings. And we have 2 public hearings on the docket. The first one is in construction of accessory buildings. So I make a motion to open the proposed local law and construction of an accessory building.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I want to add that we have heard from the Suffolk County Planning Commission, and they've referred it back to us as a matter for local determination.
Just a recap, this is a continuation of a public hearing you've held at least 2 since January 3rd, since January 10th. The proposal in front of you is to address an issue, a technicality about the required front yard, the space between the front face of a dwelling and the street, and the difference between that and the required setback. And as you know, you can't have an accessory structure in the front yard, but typically on waterfront properties, you have the space. You don't want these accessory structures on the water side. So most of these applications have had to find their way to the Zoning Board of Appeals, where the variances have more or less met the test, and the Zoning Board sort of routinely has been granting those variances. So there's a recognition that this is an area of the code that need to be re-examined. Similarly, there was issues with corner lots where you have more than one front yard, and in some instances, the required front yard issue comes in play. This would eliminate, would allow an accessory structure to be in the front yard on the waterfront or on one of the corner street sides on a corner lot, but provided they meet the accessory structure setback. So for example, on many oceanfront lots in our R120 zones, they have to be 90 feet or more from the street. Anything else would require a variance. In many of those cases, they're meeting the 90 feet, but they're still in the front yard because most people are putting their houses closer to the ocean. Similarly, on corner lots, we've had many cases where they're meeting the accessory structure setback, but just because it's a corner and where the placement of the house is, it's in the technical front yard. So the issue here, we kept this open for your planning commission reports. You received the Suffolk County Planning Commission. I understand the village's planning commission is going to take this up at their next meeting, which is next week.
Yes.
My recommendation, because we did get some preliminary comments, is that you keep this open for all purposes till the next meeting. And thereafter you may close it, but only primarily to hear the reports and comments. It may result in some modifications or changes to that, but otherwise, to date, you haven't heard any comments for or against on this matter. This came up in discussions with our office, with the building department, and I've discussed it with the zoning board, and more or less, there's no negative comments that I've received. So that would be the recommendation at this time, only so that you can receive the Planning Commission report. Of course, if you keep it open, anybody else wants to comment can still comment.
Do we have anybody who would like to make a comment tonight? Trustees? So I'll make a motion then to keep open the, for all intents and purposes, the proposed local law till the
March 14th.
March 14th meeting that reflects the construction of accessory buildings.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then the second proposed local law we have a public hearing on today is on wireless facilities. So I'll make a motion to open the proposed local law on wireless facilities.
Second?
Second.
Aye.
So this is also an amendment to the zoning code. We were waiting for planning commission reports. We don't have our village planning commission report at this moment. You do have Suffolk County Planning Commission. There's been no comment on this to date. This amendment is recognizing that right now our existing code requires all wireless facilities to obtain special exception review and approval from the Zoning Board of Appeals, but it would also require subsequent review, site plan review, ARB review, and a building permit. One of the things our zoning code, as part of the consideration of a special exception, is that a wireless facility should be located in accordance with certain priorities. The number one priority is to try to co-locate wireless facilities on municipal or quasi-municipal properties. So on one hand, we encourage it, but what we've found is if you're going to go on a municipal property, you need the municipality, the village board, this board, to review and approve it. And then subsequently, the zoning board, ARB, planning board, and a building permit. So in one way, we encourage it to go on municipal properties, but yet you have to go through 5 different boards to get approval. Having the ability at the village board, if you're going to do such a structure, you have the ability to get that input from our various boards. You have the expertise of the same consultants advising your boards. We know where our municipal structures are, and so this proposal, the code already provides for exemptions, for certain exemptions from special exception review and all the subsequent review for certain facilities. This proposal is to add 3 different exemptions, all related to actions of installing wireless facilities on municipal properties. One is within stealth structures, such as a cupola or something of that sort that may be on a building that we own, or on a building where it's a step back, the total height doesn't increase more than 10 feet, the structure, which has been the trend, as we know, as the minor, essentially these are considered like minor cell facilities. The trend is to go smaller rather than large towers. We had a proposal at the police station for a large tower. That would still require special exception review, even though it's on a municipal property or otherwise. So this is what the exceptions are. And so the intent here is to make it easier to process and do it in a more timely fashion, but still this board, along with your village consultants, or you have the ability still to refer it and get input from all those boards if you so choose. So my recommendation is at this point is that the Planning Commission technically has had this a referral since December. We have Suffolk County Planning Commission. I think this is one where you could close this public hearing subject to whatever written comments you may receive by your Planning Commission. But you could be in a position by the next meeting to adopt this, assuming you have no other further issues. So that would be my recommendation, is to close the public hearing unless there's any other comments or concerns the board would raise at this point.
Okay. Is there any comments from the public or from the trustees?
No, I'm good. I like what the council said.
So I will make a motion on this proposed local law to close it for written
Comments?
Written comment from the Planning Commission.
From the Planning Commission on the wireless
If they
facilities.
choose to.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay. We have some communications to the board.
Communications from the town of Southampton. They're a notice of a public hearing to amend town code to increase the number of members in their landmarks and historic districts board from 9 to 11. This board wants to comment, has any comment? The second one we reviewed already, which is the communication from S&P. The third communication is from the Heart Association, the Cycle Nation Heart Ride, for which you approved the date of Saturday, May 18th. They're looking to move that to Sunday, May 19th. We've spoken to the police department and all our staff that does set up. It's not a problem internally. We're just looking for the board to say it's okay to change the date, because you've already approved the event.
There was a conflict.
They have a conflict. There's another large cycle
The large
event
cycle, right.
further west, and so
So we accommodated that, and then,
Right.
so they're moving to Sunday, okay.
And the only thing we have is the eBay Autism Foundation event, but that's 2 people participating, so it won't affect it.
Okay.
Good, that's well.
I don't think we need a resolution to just change the... You would? Okay.
Yeah.
So I would entertain a resolution changing the approval of this event from Saturday, May 18th to Sunday, May 19th. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Trustee Hattrick, all in favor?
Aye.
The original bike one stays on Saturday.
We have a number of suggested resolutions.
The one at the end is not affecting us.
Entertain a resolution resolved that the reading of the minutes for the public session of February 14th, 2019 be dispensed with, and that those minutes be accepted as filed by the village administrator, and that the actions taken at that meeting be and hereby are ratified and approved. So moved. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved that the claims for the warrants dated February 26, 2019, totaling $481,797.77 for warrant A13 of the general fund, $2,496.50 for warrant H10 capital expense fund, and $1,275 warrant T16 trust fund be audited and approved.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Going through the bills, Atlantic Coast Embroidery, $1,664.78. That's for ambulance work shirts. Bartlett Tree Experts, $1,469.50. That's pruning 12 crepe myrtles west of the grade school. Business Card Services, $1,272. That's the building department mandatory training. Cleary Consulting, $1,725. That's planning board consulting for a particular project. Horwitz Auto Body, $1,750. That's January in-pound towing bill. Fluid Imagery, $7,287.99. That's for some hard drive updates, a computer for building maintenance, and various IT consulting. Fowler's Garden Center, $1,473.92. That's for stakes, snow fence, various highway and park supplies. Gallagher's Auto Repair, $1,387.50. That's some heavy-duty inspections for 10 vehicles. Granger, $3,882.91, primarily for ice melt and then various supplies. J.P. Mulvey Plumbing and Heating, $2,559.43. That was for a firehouse boiler that was not firing, and Village Hall furnace shut down. Liberty Ironworks, $1,360.16. That's fabrication work on a heavy dump truck. Martin's General Contracting, $12,800. That's for emergency roof repairs at 25 Jobs Lane. Dean McNamara, $1,000. That's for medical reimbursement. More Medical, $1,316.22. That's for ambulance supplies. Mutt Mitt, $1,224.80. That's replacement for a resupply of mitts throughout the village and the dog park.
Oh, I thought that was for our new police dog. Come on.
Yeah. Well, he may use one or two. National Grid, $7,527.81. That's utilities for multiple locations. NICOM, $1,800. That's the village's annual dues. New York State Employees Health Insurance, $354,712.97. That's the February health insurance bill. Optimum, $1,058.30. Cable internet for various locations. Otis Ford, $1,030.38. That's for various vehicle parts. Pierce Manufacturing, $3,100. That's fire truck training for central garage. Necessary training to work on our Pierce fire trucks. Pine Barrett's Printing, $6,497.85. That's our summer permit printing. PSE&G Long Island, $2,553.75. That's for utilities. Rapid Recovery Towing, $1,900. That's impounds as well for towing. Sadie Levine, $16,191.66. That is annual independent audit services for both the village and Justice Court. Southampton Youth Services, $7,500. That's the 2019 membership fees. Verizon, $3,682.88. That's village-wide phone service. Verizon Wireless, $1,418.59. That's village cell phone service. W&G Service, $7,235.32. That's 4 units for the Cultural Center, 4 air conditioning and heating units that a service that needed, all 4 broke down and needed service. Roy Wines, $1,300. I'm sorry, skipped one? No. Nope. Okay. Roy Wines, $1,300.20. That's for medical reimbursement. On the trust account, Banjo Rascals, $1,275. That's a deposit for the 4th of July celebration. And on the capital disbursements, Municipal Testing Laboratory, $2,496.50. That's for concrete testing at the ambulance barn. All in favor?
Question.
Yes.
Another question. I guess I don't. I had 2 questions. We have a computer for building maintenance. Is that a new or a replacement?
It is a replacement computer from a desktop to a laptop.
Got it. Okay. And then just a question for the mayor or trustee Ostremski. The fire truck training for the central garage, what's included for the new fire truck we're getting?
Well, that's actually a question for Billy Hatchick, Central Garage. But that's not the new truck. But we have. I'm going to presume what that means is that Pierce. We have different apparatus.
Right.
We have Pierce trucks. So that's any training for upgrades or repairs that have to be done, or new apparatus or
They also
pumps.
have to maintain the certification.
And the certifications to fix it in-house. Thank you.
Well, a lot of
Question for him.
those guys have to be updated, especially on the computer use, because all those things are computerized now. And to cover the warranties and stuff.
Correct. But as Russ said, it's about certification, so when they do repair, they update the warranties.
Also, the laptop that you asked about is also going to be used for some inventory and some
Street lighting.
street lighting.
Street lighting.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the following dates for the 2 public hearings for the annual estimated and tentative budget for the fiscal year 2019-2020. Thursday, April 11, 2019 at 6 p.m. and Tuesday, April 23, 2019 at 6 p.m. Copies of the proposed budget will be available to the public beginning Friday, March 30, 2019. I'm going to change that. Is there a motion?
Make that motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby acknowledge that the financial records of the Village Justice Court for the fiscal year ended May 31st, 18 was audited in accordance with auditing general standards generally accepted in the United States of America.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
These have to be done separately. Entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby accepts the audited financial records of the Incorporated Village of Southampton as prepared by Sadie Levine, CPAs, for the fiscal year ended May 31st, 2018.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the attached schedule of budget transfers to eliminate overages for the period ending February 26, 2019. Is there a motion?
Moved.
Second. Trustees special projects, a credit of $6,000. Trustee special services, $2,600. Celebrations, $3,400. Those are debits. Parks supplies materials, a credit of $7,500. Parks utilities, $7,500. Those are just moving money within departments from areas in which there's additional money to cover costs that were approved by this board. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby hires Cook Marin as the village insurance agent and authorizes the village administrator to purchase the 2019 commercial insurance policies.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
On a note, so that the village board knows that our rates remained steady. Our premium did go up ever so slightly because of the fact that we do have more assets. So as you take on assets, obviously, even if the rate stays the same, your premium goes up slightly. Cook Marin did look at a number of different proposals, including, potentially changing deductibles. We did a kind of a quick analysis, and we felt that our deductible levels were sufficient and that our coverages were also sufficient. Just wanted to give that update. I also ask that the board entertain a motion. Where did I put it? Here it is. Thank you. Resolved that the Board of Trustees approve the following purchase from Capital Reserve Fund, subject to permissive referendum, and that's high-tech fire and safety. Fire department needs to purchase turnout gear for the total of $57,695.02. It has been looked at by and signed off by the mayor as a purchase order, but again, this is subject to permissive referendum, so prior to the purchase, we're going to advertise it as is necessary. Is there a motion?
Pitch.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, I was reading.
Okay. Discussion items.
We have the Southampton Chamber of Commerce and their schedule of events that you see in front of you. Anyone have any questions or comments? Looks like a full slate of events starting in May and going all the way into December.
The only note on that is at the bottom of TBD, the sidewalk sales, they will be requesting, as they have done in the past, for sidewalk sales. They usually do one in the spring and one in the fall. They just haven't picked dates yet, so they did ask that we make
that
mention
open?
of that, because they are going to want that too.
Okay.
Do I have a motion to approve the schedule of the chamber?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The sidewalk sales work pretty well, I think, for the
Yeah, they work great.
retail.
Okay, we have a request for the EJ Autism Foundation Real Aid Relay Walk. That is on Sunday, May 19th. Details are here. They've got a completed application.
That's the one I alluded to earlier. It is only 2 people participate, but what is terrific is that they still give Flying Point Autism Foundation $5,000 each year from this.
Wow.
And there's only a team of 2 participating from the East End in this area.
Yeah, they do a great job, and they keep it local, which is...
Is there a motion to approve their event?
So moved.
Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have Pause on Parade, Southampton History Museum, looking to on Sunday, October 5th, 2019.
People love this parade.
And the only difference is they moved it because we moved Southampton Fest. So Southampton Fest would have been, or their parade would have been on September 21st, but that will be Southampton Fest. So we looked at the calendar and moved it back so that it wouldn't conflict with anything else.
Good.
If you say so, okay.
Well, we couldn't find anything. We don't think so.
Pretty hard to find something that doesn't conflict with it.
Did we do a, I thought we did a motion on that.
No,
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Southampton Cultural Center has sent us their final lineup for the 2019 Concerts in the Park.
Great.
Great lineup, starting July 2nd, going through the end of August. If there's any questions or comments? Motion to accept their calendar?
I'll make that motion. Second. Second.
Nice
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and in our yellow folders, no? In our... We have a request from the, right? From the Southampton Arts Center. They're looking to hold a dance walk on March 3rd, March 23rd, April 27th, May 11th, and June the 8th. They're looking to dance, walk to music, and take a loop around the village, playing sensible music from a small Bluetooth device, heading down Job's Lane around Agawam Park, up Job's Lane around Main Street. Easy, fun workout, and it'll end up back at the SAC at noon when the gallery's open, encouraging attendees to then visit the exposition on view and then hopefully grab lunch at a local eatery. As the title suggests, they were going to stay on the sidewalk, obey all traffic signs accordingly, and they're hoping to average approximately 20 people, and then some people might join them along the way.
They're not using any horses this time, are they?
No, not that I'm aware of.
The only thing, and I said it before, is that I think before we vote on that, we should reach out to some of the stores, because if they get a crowd of 20, it's pretty active. I mean, I think the intent is for exercise, but you dance as you go around the village, and 20 dancing people on a Saturday may not help sales too much, or it may.
No comment.
There is also an opportunity, since they are looking to have the first one on March the 3rd, and the next one is not until the 23rd.
Mm-hmm.
Trial run.
Who's managing the
We
people
certainly
that
could.
may just
Yep.
show up?
Yep.
They were looking to do how many? Approval for?
2, 4, 5 all total. So
Is this similar to the thing that they started in the park that time? Remember that?
No, this is
That was through
something...
that was actually through the cultural center, through the dance.
I'm sorry.
I think it started in Manhattan.
Yeah, I don't, yeah, I mean, there is some, I know it's been done in other locations, including Manhattan. It looks like it was done Times Square, Fifth Avenue area. Don't know if we're out here yet.
So have we done it here in the village before?
No, this is something totally new.
So the only question I have as your attorney is obviously the liability question. So I'm assuming there's insurance or otherwise, but more importantly is, regardless of the insurance, what's the supervision of this? You know, who's guiding who to be where, you know, we have issues. I don't want to find out that somebody, as they're dancing along, tripped on a crack in the sidewalk and is now going to take the village to task. So part of it is, if we're, you know, you start with 20 people and now all of a sudden there's 40 or whatever, and you're out in the street or some other thing, what supervision or management is related to that to assure that, you know, the rules are followed and there is no problem from that standpoint? That would only be my question.
I would also ask that there...
But assuming there's insurance.
You sound like the dad from Footloose now.
So Wayne, that was my question as well.
No
and
dancing in the streets?
I was told that they can sign a waiver, anyone who participates can sign a waiver, but I don't know how you solve that.
Well, I don't
Again,
think
if you're
it's picking people up
in the street, how are they going to, you know, oh, wait a minute, before you come and dance
Before
with
you
us, you got to
dance.
sign a waiver? I mean, it's limited, but it more goes to the organization and how they're going to manage that, or otherwise, you know, how do they get participation? That's a little hard for me to understand.
We did question if it would fall under the realm of a walk-run, and they did complete an application so that it would indemnify the village, and it would have to provide us, obviously, with the insurance for...
I mean, at the end of the day, it's
Just a
still a
question.
public street like a public road, and can we tell somebody they can't dance anyways? You know, it's like the bike
Well,
and run stuff. You can't restrict them from using the public for that reason alone.
The
So
only
it's
thing
a
is that the
public-
Southampton Arts Center is an arm of this village, so therefore,
sanctioned through that, okay.
right, so therefore,
So wasn't this tied to an artist kickoff, an artist exhibit kickoff?
Not that we were told
Not that we were
in the
told, okay.
correspondence. I don't know if it was.
I think we need a little more
yeah,
information.
it's fine. It, as you can tell, wasn't on the agenda, it kind of
Fell in.
fell in, yeah. Well put.
The Manila
Danced in. Yes, it
Well, it's a
did.
good idea to get people to exercise.
Yes.
But I think it's new, and it doesn't, like you said, it's not a walk, it's not a run. What is it? What's our potential liability?
Another Footloose person. I'm letting the kids dance.
Be continued.
To be continued, yes. And no further discussion items. We have comments from board members. Trustees Krimsky.
I just want to thank all the departments for compiling the data for this evening. A lot of good stuff going on, and, you know, as we approach budget time and we ask for the numbers for our departments, you know, and we're not an inexpensive village to run, but it costs a lot to keep it looking this good and this safe and attractive for people to come to. So I thank all the departments for what they've done and what they continue to do for us, and more importantly, the people of the village. And again, congratulations to all our accounting staff, treasurer, and so forth, record keeping, yourself including now Russell as the team, and certainly, and most importantly, Steve Lunch before you. In his tenure, and since I've been on the board, we've had, this is now our, I believe there's at least second, if not our third upgrade. Upgrades are big, and that doesn't happen overnight. As you know, you've been in municipal work for over 30 years, and that took some very careful lending practices and budgetary practices. And to get up to AAA, that's huge. So
I do want to also thank, because we have a great partnership with Munistat and Noah Nadelson, who does an outstanding job, and I mean, he really dives in, right, and you were on the call. He and his staff, you know, do a lot of the early legwork and prep work. They find out who your analyst is, give us a little background as to what they're looking for, because he deals with them on a regular basis. So, you know, little kudos to them as well.
No, definitely. And I remember one thing that Steve did when he came along that was never done before is just our monthly numbers we get. reconciliation numbers, and so as a board, we know what's going on, and which is the most important thing, so somebody pulls us aside. So, again, I really want to thank all the people within Village Hall, the staff of Village Hall who made that, worked hard on a daily basis for that to occur. So.
It's all good stuff. Thank you. Trustee Allen.
I'm good, except to say I was very happy to see so many individuals from the community come to our meeting
Yes.
tonight and express their opinion. I know a lot of
Yes.
people have left, but
Yes,
Jackie's
no,
still here and a couple others.
No, that's big. You're right.
It is.
Public support,
Yeah.
public outreach is big.
Very big. Trustee Hatchett.
I'll beat that dog a little myself.
Do you have a joke?
No, well, I could just cite you a little piece of poetry, but I did want to say, you know, the mafia had an expression that take it to the mattresses. And I think that proposal for that housing project, you're going to find out it turns the whole thing. It's not just the people that live there that you're now coming into and back out through these streets that never had that kind of traffic. You're going to find out it's like Pelham and North Moses Lane and all that sort of thing, and then people find any way that they think they can get around something, and or instead of coming into the village and coming to the traffic light, taking a right and coming down North Sea, they'll turn off there, you know. So I think we ought to really get out the howitzers for the town board if they, and maybe get us to go en masse and make sure we're all aware of it and so on, and not miss it and raise some real hell with it. It's a bad idea and a bad place. Of course, this idea that we're really going to be accommodating people from all over Hell's Half Acre. Anyhow, would you like to hear my piece of poetry?
I don't know, do we?
It's fortunately,
Got a reporter
I don't
here,
think
be
it's up to our
careful.
standards, but, oh no, we don't make those kind of mistakes. You know, there was a lot of people used to joke about people who had New Jersey accents if you were from Jersey. And this poem I was told a long time ago, and one of the few things I can remember. Anyhow, toity-doity pipal boys were sitting on a quoipstone, choiping and poiping, and along comes Mabel and her boyfriend Hyman, who works in a shite factory over in Jersey City. When they saw those toity-doity purple boys sitting on a quoipstone chirping and boyfriend, geez, was they perturbed.
All right.
That wasn't easy.
I wish I could read the bills that.
We do too.
I can tell you some other poetry that'll cost you your AAA rating, too.
I don't know how the hell you top that, Mayor.
You know, one of the real tough things, Bill, is coming up with a comment after you. There is just...
Let's go to the
So
mattresses.
I'm not even going to try. We got a couple of things I think that are going on in the village that are pretty exciting, and I think the ambulance building is coming along real well to see those walls go up. You know when the trusses are coming in? Because that's going to be
They're
a
there.
They're
big...
here.
Yeah, they're there, sitting in the back. I saw that
They're in
today.
the back?
And hoisted in the
All right.
next week or so.
So, yeah, it's taking shape.
I would suggest anybody who has an interest to go by there, because, you know, that's a pretty cool way they're building that, and it's going to be a significant aspect in the village, and it's certainly going to be a great facility for the ambulance group.
Yeah, I want to thank Trustee Allen for coming to the last project meeting. I think it was helpful. And, you know, I think that having the board understand the progress of a huge investment is important. So
And they're on track with their project schedule.
I think they're a little ahead.
Well, they said it was because it hasn't snowed, but it's...
No, they're a little, yeah, that's why they're ahead, because they've been able to
Right,
move.
but let's hope it doesn't start snowing the next month.
Well, at least not a foot. A little
Right.
snow won't kill it, but.
But as Trustee Skrimsky can testify to, that was a long process.
Yeah, long process. And
Long
it took
process.
a lot of corrections, which were eventually done to get it where it is now.
Yep. But I think it's a very positive thing. And then a note on the project that is being proposed by the town Again, you know, I stress that that area is a very high-density area, and I think that so many times we try to do a good project, because the concept in itself of workforce housing is a idea that we've tossed around numerous times and spoke with the town on, and it's a great concept, but sometimes if you become too passionate in something like that and you put it in the wrong place, it ends up doing more damage than it does good. So I mean, definitely, without a doubt, now that that's come to more public hearings on it, we got to take a close look at it and see what's really going in there. And that's really all I have. We got March is a great month out here. You know, you get those teaser days. I always love them. Sometimes it's not freezing and it's warm enough to get out. And, you know, I would stress everybody also to go take a walk on the beach, because this year we didn't get the northeasters that we normally get. And the scouring on that beach is not as bad as it normally is. And it's a great time of year to walk on it, because the sand's nice and hard and you can really move along. So, and it's probably one of the most prettiest beaches in the world. Without a doubt, you got to get out and take a look. And besides that, I wish everybody well. And we have a second public comment. Is there anybody who'd like to make a comment? Yes, please.
Yep. Come on to the podium and address yourself, please.
I am Nicholas Grievous. I'm a resident of Southampton. And I've also have become an investor recently and bought some properties on the hill.
Okay.
So you can imagine why I'm here. Yep. What struck me is affordable housing is something that we are all interested in, and we don't want to see people having to commute long and all that. The benefits of that are self-evident. The problem is that if you look at Hillcrest Avenue and Mill Road, that project probably was not a success. Talking to a lot of people, they said you couldn't walk there some years back. And you wouldn't want to walk there some years back. Slowly, that has changed. And the city has, if you look at New York City, it has created projects that you really wouldn't want to walk there. And the city has changed its approach to that challenge. And as you all know, when they build now, they're building in Hunters Point, they require that an allocation be for affordable housing. So a 10% allocation to affordable housing. I've been to buildings like that, and you can't tell that it's affordable housing of any content. Another thing that, and this is a report that was in NPR, that a recent report, they looked at kids that grew up in rundown areas and then looked at kids that are across the street from those areas. And those kids, the future of the kids that were just across the street was markedly different. All that to say that projects that have concentration for affordable housing are not good for those who live there. They're not good for those around those areas. They're not good for our police department. They just don't serve that purpose. And the solution appears to be to have more of a planned approach to it, and to allocate, to any development, allocate a portion and really have a different approach to just get it done and allocate a piece to that purpose. So I'm glad that, from what I gathered, and sorry I missed the discussion earlier, that this board is moving in the right direction. I mean, I recognize there are problems with traffic and what's proposed. There's problems with the sewage system that's being proposed. There's problems with, of course, the concentration that I just described. And I think that's probably the biggest problem that doesn't serve even those that are intended to serve. So that's all I had, and I'm pleased to hear that I think we're aligned in our thinking. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Okay, Jackie.
Jackie.
Okay, I'm Jackie Lamb, and this is not my favorite thing to do. But I want to thank Mr. Hattrick for, I see where your children get their sense of humor from, and I thank you. So it was refreshing. I take the board meetings at the Southampton Public School Board meeting, and it was interesting to see that the same thing happens there, happens here. Most people leave after a little while. So that's quite, I should be happy that somebody else is here. Just be happy other people are here. So, okay. I know that, you know, the things that about the Hillcrest Avenue area, that area where we live. And I know that, you know, I'm hoping and praying that you do what you say you're going to do. And I hope you do it with a passion, more than a passion, a real concern for the people in this community. One of the things that's interesting to me is that people forget that there's a church on that hill and how that traffic is going to impact the church and the people that come there. We must not, no matter what we do, no matter what we must not forget that God is important in all of our lives, and more so today than we could ever imagine. And to put a highway right, or probably more like a highway, right in the middle of a place where children play and people come to worship and families and no concern for life. It hurts. It's mind-boggling because you don't care. It's just like, what I want, and I'm going to go do anything. I don't care who it hurts. I don't care who gets hurt, and all of that. It's terrible. It's not. We're not being human beings. We're just greedy. So I ask that you really, with the force, vengeance, whatever the word should be, to find out what's going on, and as much as you can, do what you can.
Done.
I thank you for this meeting. I'm glad I stayed for a little while longer because I learned something. It's a good work. Keep your heart for the people. And I want to thank the fire department, the ambulance, the policemen, all of those that serve. And I thank you for serving.
Well said. Any other comments? Any comments from trustees? And I make a motion to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of discussing legal matters and personnel matters involving village employees.
All in favor?
Aye.